We are about 4.5 months in of having our soon-to-be adopted son full-time in our home, and we are just figuring it out as each day goes by.
So somehow, ever since I was little, I knew that adoption was going to be a part of my story, but I had no idea how.
I had always just seen little pockets of adoption and foster care, and in the back of my mind, it kind of settled that that might be something that I could do. And I didn't really give it too much really full developed thought up until Maria and I started dating and then eventually got married. And as we were starting to talk about how to add on to our family, that really became something that we really had conversations about and we really started considering.
I started to have this picture in my head of what our family might look like and what plans maybe we had come up with on our own. And I really thought that we'd have our own kids and maybe way down the road, adoption would become a part of our story. I never thought that would be the beginning of our family. And I can only think it was God putting that desire in my heart because I didn't know anyone who was adopted. So we had decided to begin the foster care process, which involved a lot of meetings and several months worth of training. And so the whole time we had this plan of, we would take this time to maybe just foster probably young babies in the beginning, and then we'd sort of see where it went from there. And we were approached about adopting a 5-year-old boy. And that was nowhere in our plans. That is not what we were thinking when we walked into the process.
When we really got down to it and the conversation began of potentially adopting a 5-year-old boy, that really threw me for something of a loop because I'm a planner, I'm a visionary if you want to get fancy with it, but I really think far out on the things that I do and the things that I want to do and the things that I would like to achieve. And so for me, we had been in conversations about beginning with fostering and seeing how the process went from there. And so when the opportunity to do something different came, I really didn't know what to do because I have this thing within me to plan and to think ahead. And so it really shook me and I just wasn't ready for it.
And so it was a lot to think about. It was a big change from what we had imagined for ourselves. We were committing to something for our entire lives and for the entire life of this child, for the entire life of our family to come. I really thought, God, if I had to tell you right now what the hardest thing for me would be in this process, I thought, I don't do so well with boys. And I'm so much better with babies and toddlers, like a 5-year-old boy, I don't even know how to do that. And this word just kept popping up to me over and over again of being faithful. And how when we are faithful to God, we do the things He's asking us to do regardless of what's in it for us.
We finally decided, all right, we are going to do this. We feel like God is calling us to do it. We feel like this is something that we have to do. And for the whole time that I was thinking about it, I had this idea that I was fighting in my mind of, I thought I would know what my family would be like. I had this picture of what it would look like, dreaming of what Maria and I's kids would look like, if our best features matched together, it'd be perfect, or something like that. But as we really got closer to really planning and talking about what our family would look like, the idea of adoption and fostering became more and more prevalent.
So I just really had all these fears that I couldn't do this. I didn't have the skills to do this, and I don't, and I still don't. But God proves over and over again that He equips those that He calls, which is all of us. He equips us to do the hard things. So we sort of put ourselves in this vulnerable place of saying, God, we're going to be faithful to you in this opportunity that you've essentially placed in our laps. And you have to equip us to do it because we can't.
I would say that I'm struggling the most with living out this incredibly awe-inspiring characteristic of God, which is being sacrificial and selfless all the time. In so many moments of life, you can kind of cheat and fake being selfless, or you can fake being sacrificial, but when you have a family and when you have a child from a different background than the one that you've come up with in your own life, you really have to work harder at it. And for me, it had this strange thing of an incredible excitement and an incredible fear, like all melding together. There is something different about this relationship where we were once strangers and now we are the most intimate of family. And the ways that I interact with you should be like that. But there's this kind of tension between who I am and who they are, and how we come together is only a thing that is really seen in the gospel, in the way that God has saved us as sinners and people who are far away from him. Knowing that beauty is one thing, but being able to see it every day in your own house at bedtime while playing a game together is a beautiful thing that whenever I can really stop and appreciate it, is one of the greatest things that I've been able to be a part of in my life. One of my favorite moments of us as a family is we're all outside and Calvin is a skateboarder. I am a skateboarder. And then all of a sudden he pops his first ollie. And so I freak out. Maria freaks out. He's freaking out. We're all freaking out together. And that's one of those moments where you're just like, you know what? This is incredible. Not only do we have just the great spiritual parts of this process, but we have just the normal, everyday family parts of it too that we get to enjoy all together.
I'm Maria Jones, and this is my husband, Jamal, and we're adopting from foster care.